Thank you for joining us today here at the Vineyard for our NCC worship service. Thank you for being here. I hope it blesses your life. Today we want to talk about the two areas that we can walk into. The walking in to a place of order, a place of disorder, a place of peace, a place of drama, that we're constantly choosing this on a daily basis. What room we're going to walk into. Today we want to drill down deeper on that and encourage you to walk into the room of peace and order that God has given to your life, that God has given to my life. Thank you for being with us. I hope you enjoyed today's service. After that song, we could just say amen and go home. I mean, if we totally took it in, we could say amen. But we're in human bodies and in a brain. In our human bodies and our human brains don't always comprehend the simplicity of letting go and letting God. Welcome to the house of the Lord. Thank you for being here. It's good to be here. Thank God for the breath of life, strength in body, peace of mind, peace of heart, peace in the soul. I want you to appreciate, as the song says, we come to get re-energized, recharged, a word, fellowship, but it also is a place to relieve us from stress, relieve us from worry, relieve us, not as that we're jonesing like a drug addict, but there's no better place to get relief than from the Lord. And what we need to understand is that is our place of peace. Let go and let God. As soon as I stop worrying, we're going to begin in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, starting with the 15th verse. Matthew 7 and 15, it reads, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit." You may be seated. Again, we're seeing simplicity but profound. It gives us the gauge of how to identify. And it says, beware of false prophets. Beware of the fakes. Beware of the phonies. Beware of the pretenders. Because they come in sheep's clothing, but they're wolves. And it tells us, how will you know? How will you know? I'm asking because it tells us. Help me out. How will you know? By their fruits. See, this is where they hoodwink you, though. They'll tell you fruits are something that they're not. So it's very tricky because they're aware of these scriptures, so they hoodwink. And they're saying, look at my fruits. And they'll call fruits houses, cars, buildings, clothes, amount of people that are present. They call that fruit. The Bible never calls a house fruit. The Bible never calls how many people gather as fruit. And people argue with me about this, but it doesn't call it fruit. It doesn't call money fruit either. Now, we need money, yes. What I say, we need money, that's how we pay for things. But it's not fruit. There's some very wealthy men that are evil. There are some men that can gather bigger crowds than most churches, and they're evil. So that's not fruit. You will know them by their fruit. And I say this quite often, and I because I repeat things because sometimes people don't get it, or they haven't heard it, or they, after a few times, it's like, oh, now it makes sense. But I talk about the end justifying the means. And what that means is that it doesn't matter how you get there, just get there, which is not true. It doesn't matter if you lie to people to get them to salvation. It doesn't matter if you trick them, if you scare them. See, people believe that because you're getting them to salvation. God doesn't need us tricking people. He doesn't need us scaring people. But they say, well, it works. Well, now you have the fruit of that now. Not the fruit of them getting salvation. You have the results, the residual effect of bringing in manipulation, bringing in witchcraft, bringing in fear. But you don't have to have the gift of discernment to know this. There's a difference from what you feel here and what you feel here. Here's where you experience the evil results here. Here's where you feel the good fruit. Here's where you feel peace. Here's where you feel love. Here's where you feel hope. This is where you feel the good things, is right here. Right here is where you feel anxiety. Here's where you feel fear. Here's where you feel stress, right here. So when somebody's leading us from here and you could sense it here, that's not good fruit. Here's good fruit, which is the biggest one would be love. So how we go and what fuel we use matters. I'm just laying this groundwork because we're going to go somewhere else. But I want us to pick this up. Before we go into the message all the way, though, we are laying down the groundwork in our podcasts, and we'll eventually be unraveling more YouTube videos. I'm unveiling, releasing, but it's taken us some time to lay this down. So we have morning prayer done, you can find on our podcasts. We have evening prayer you can find on our podcasts. We have, I believe, a fear and anxiety prayer. And this week, we will have a healing prayer. So there's 4 prayers. Now, what you need to understand is it's not a one-time thing. It's meant to help you every day. So like you can play it while you're praying. You could play it while you're getting dressed. You could play it while you're making your coffee. You could play it while you're driving to work. So this is a help to you. The evening one to finish your day. So you just, once you download it from a podcast, it's there now. You don't have to do it again. It's laying in your phone or your device or whatever it is. So I know iPhone has the podcast icon right there. You just hit it and you could just put in Joy Comes in the Morning. You could put my name. It'll come right up. I don't know what is the... what do you call the other one? The Droid, the Samsung, Google Play. Is that right? The Google Play. What is that called? Someone help me on their podcast. Is it called podcast? Google Play is podcast too. So I'm sure you can go through your phone there. Is there like 5 different platforms for podcasts? So there's like 5 different platforms. I don't want to walk you through all of it, but just you can find it there. It's there to be your help. There's other things that will be out there, and eventually we will have all this on YouTube also. So most of your TVs, you could probably just go and click the YouTube thing, and right there you could play it right off your TV. Unless you have a 1995 TV, which I doubt any of you do. I'm sure most, if you don't have a smart TV, you know what a smart TV is? If you don't have one, all you have to do is go to Amazon and you just order a Fire Stick. It's like this big, and it's like $20. So you just order the Fire Stick and you just stick it on your TV, and it'll walk you through, and now you have a smart TV, regardless of how old it is. But most new TVs are smart TVs now, new the last couple of years. Anyways, you just go to YouTube, boom. You can have the prayer going. You can have the other things going to help you out. Why? Because we are walking people through to the path of good trees. That's what we're attempting to do. That this is our goal. Well, what about salvation? Well, you know salvation. If somebody doesn't, we can help them with that. But my ministry has lent itself, for some reason, to hurting people that already know the Lord. Can I help people that don't know the Lord? Yes. But it's just that my ministry tends to lean towards people that already know the Lord. That's where that comes from. And then why are you sharing this? Because there's hurting people inside the church. I'll admit this, the strength of our church is not outreach. It's not the strength. I'm not putting anyone down. It's not a strength of our church. And that is probably a big reflection on myself. Right? But the strength of our church is this, is it's a hospital. So that's the strength. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. It's just that God has called us to be a hospital. Remember I told you a couple years back we were a MASH unit? We are no longer a MASH unit. Now we are Banner. In other words, we have a location now. Before we were MASH, that we were nomadic. We are not nomadic any longer. So it's changed. But we are a hospital more than we are an outreach. There was an outreach here yesterday, and God bless them. They were reaching out to the community. And again, it's not my strength. It's just not the way I'm wired. And I could get into that, but but the hospital side is what we are strong at. And that's why I'm teaching and I'm encouraging, we're laying these things down for people that are dealing with stress, worry, anxiety, fear. All these questions, it's like, where do I go? And I do this just because I want to know. I do searches to look for what's out there to help based on the Lord. And there's very little. Very little. What if I put end times? Will I get some stuff come back? It'll be flooded with stuff, end times. What if I put the rapture? It'll be all kinds of stuff. What if I put prosperity? Do you see what I'm saying? But what if I put fear, anxiety, stress based on the Lord guiding us? Very little comes back. I found this out when we started doing these new platforms, that there's algorithms behind the scenes that I don't know, I don't have knowledge about. Okay, I'm not talking about the bar on Google that you put search engine, but behind that there are all kinds of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that they pick words, and like yourself, all of a sudden they send you something that you're interested in, all that. Well, there's all this information that goes on behind the doors. Well, behind the scenes. What they tell me is with my name behind the scenes, you know what comes up? Love over fear. That's what all the algorithm that is out there identifies me as. Do you see that? You say, man, because I didn't make that happen. So it's put together everything that I put out and say and that I've made viral in some form, and it comes down to love over fear. So in other words, it's like, who is this guy? Oh, he's about love over fear. That's what That's what the behind the scene algorithm says. You shake your head because I'll take it. Because that is the biggest part of my message being, yes, we get salvation through the Lord by faith, not by works, lest any man boast. Thank God for his salvation. But I look at the energy that we walk in. What tree do we eat from? And what tree are we? Every one of you are a tree. Each one of you is a tree in yourself. And each one of you eat off of trees. So what we want is to be a good tree. And when I say good tree, I don't mean a flawless tree. That's not what I mean. That you're a flawless tree, but you're a good tree. Because we could be perfect and still have flaws. Perfection doesn't mean flawless. There's only one that's flawless. And he got crucified. He was flawless on earth here. The rest of us have flaws. That's not to condone or justify anything, but we have flaws. But yet, you can have flaws and still be perfect. How can you be perfect but yet have flaws? The way you can be perfect is that your mind is whole, your heart is whole, your soul is whole, and we allow the Lord to lead us. We can walk in completeness, wholeness, which equates to perfection, which is holy, righteousness, godly. All those things come into factor. Now, get me. We may be wounded. We may be damaged. We may be hurt. We may have a hole in us. That's why we go down these paths to get those repaired. I doubt that there's one of you that has comes this far unscathed. Probably every one of us have been hurt, have been wounded. Something has damaged us. So we need physical healing, but we need those healings also. And those healings bring us to being whole. Not flawless, but whole. Last week I mentioned this, I'm going to mention again. When I look at people through their pain. What do I mean by that? I look at them through what has hurt them, that the hurt is what that people don't see. They just see the effects of the hurt. So hurt people many times hurt people, but people just see that they hurt somebody. They don't see that that person was hurt. Now, there's a difference between being hurt and becoming the predator now that goes around hurting people. That's different. Because some people get damaged and now they go around damaging everybody else because of it. That's something different. So somebody like that, yes, you could look at their pain, but they're train wrecks and they create chaos. So you have to put that fire out before you can even address that, and you may never even get that with that person like that because they're just going out starting fires. They're arsonists. Yeah, thank you for laughing because that was organic right there. They're fire starters. They're arsonists. Where there is no drama, they're going to throw a match. Here we go. They provoke it. Start it. So someone like that, let's look at their pain. No, you can't. You got to look at the fires they make. You got to try and put them out before you can get there. But you wouldn't be here if that was you. Because fire starters, arsonists, they get frustrated here. It's like, no, because we like stomping that out. Like, in other words, we don't need that. Because we're trying to get ahead, not behind. But recognizing I've been hurt, I've been damaged, I've been wounded, not woe is me. I try and stay away from the word victim because that word can hold us back. Do you see how I'm saying that we've been hurt, we've been wounded, we've been damaged, but I don't want to use the word victim. I just did, but I want us to, I recognize, I know the word, but it's a word that can end up wounding us more. Why? Because I'm a victim. You don't like me, I'm a victim. This just happened, I'm a victim. And everything is, I'm a victim. And I can't move forward. I can't progress. I can't make steps. I can't mature. Why? Because I'm a victim. Do you see this? And I get it. There's things that happen that are wrong. I get it. But we don't have to make our identity that we're a victim. We can make our identity that we are victors. Is there a difference, right? Very similar word, but different. We can choose to be victims or we could choose to be victors. I'm a victim. You notice you don't hear that word, huh? You ever hear, how often will you hear the word victim? Every day. But you will not hear the word victor. See that? That lady walks in victory. You don't hear that, right? Walking in victory. Well, I don't have it. Yes, you do. You know how I know? You walk through them doors. You couldn't walk through them doors if you weren't a victor, because that was a victory. It was a victory. So walking down these paths and deciding, I want to be a good tree and I want to eat good fruit. I want to be a good tree. And how can I be a good tree? By eating good fruit. By eating good fruit is going to make me a good tree. Now, how do we eat? Well, our ears are a big part of how we eat. Our ears, what we hear, is a big part of what we eat. And I know I've been pounding this, I'm going to pound it again. There's just garbage music out there that is not what we want to eat. It's trash. It's junk. I'm pausing because it boggles my mind. Because you think why it could warp somebody and the trash that comes out of it. And I know I've shared this. The Beatles were seen as ungodly. I'm not going to say they're godly, but they were seen as way out there. I want to hold your hand. Can't Buy Me Love. Yellow Submarine. Here Comes the Sun. They would consider them nursery school rhymes today. Today's music is not subliminal. Okay, you may disagree with me. And don't go look it up if you haven't heard it, because it's fine if you haven't. But it's out there. To me, it's pornography. It is verbal pornography. It's not subliminal. It's not, I want to hold your hand. Oh, you're so beautiful. No. It's junk. It's trash. And don't tell me there's not any name calling in there. Thank you. Right? It's just put down, put down, put down, put down, and now I'm going to be a good tree. Right? When I was young, chicken tastes like wood. Yeah. It was a different time. Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight. It was like the really first rap song that came out. want to brag or boast, but I like butter, hot butter on my breakfast toast. That was out there. You see the difference? So, why am I telling you this? You wake up in the morning and you put that on, you're going to set into a different mindset than if you start eating good fruit. What you're taking in with your ears, what you're seeing with your eyes. Because it's going to go to your mind. It's going to go to your heart. It's going to go to your soul. So we have a choice to walk in to that room of trash or walk into that room of peace. We're making that choice daily. We're making that choice hourly. We're making that choice by the minute and by the second. We are always making that choice. What room am I going to go in? What room am I going to go in? What room am I going to go in? I don't have to know your life to know this. The majority of your time is spent right here. The majority of your time is spent right here in your mind. I'm going to throw this in because I'm always taking in information. But I started watching a lecture on sleep and aging. So there's a place in San Diego, and it's an institution there that's dedicated to aging and sleep. They still don't totally understand sleep, but by their research and studying people and studying the brain, they have come to the conclusion that sleep is necessary. They have found out the most unhealthy people are the people that sleep less. The most healthy people, depending on your age, the younger you are, the more sleep you need. So an infant needs more sleep than a 10-year-old. But a 10-year-old needs more sleep than a 20-year-old. A 20-year-old needs more sleep than a 40-year-old. So basically, without going through everyone's age, they said the optimum window is 7 to 9 hours. The optimum window, 7 to 9. They say if you get like where you're sleeping way beyond that, they said then you're probably got something else going on. And then it becomes detrimental at that point. So that's the window. Do you see this? But what they learned is your brain functions in one capacity as it's awake. And your brain is functioning as an awakened brain. And it's working. And it's taking in information. And it's going through things. And it is getting damages. And I mean damages like it's like a car engine that's getting miles put on it as you're going through your day. The only way that you reverse what your brain goes through on any given day, that it heals itself, this stuff gets released into your brain and it goes through this transition of healing back up, is in your sleep. And there's different levels of sleep, which all of you will know. The last one, rapid eye movement, REM sleep, which is your last stage of sleep. The last stage of sleep that you have is rapid eye movement, and that's where you have a lot of vivid dreams. But your brain is getting repaired. And what it's doing is like today's message will go into your brain, and tonight when you sleep, if you get your proper sleep, it'll drive it home into your hard drive. But it also will go like a computer and trash things and throw it out. So it'll take things and it throws it out and say, we don't want this information. Not what I'm saying is like, oh, somebody got hit by a car. Not like that, but a lot of trivial information will get discarded tonight. But your brain will say, this message I want to retain. And it can look to retain up to 80%. It will not retain 100%. It won't do that. But it can retain up to 80% of the information. But the only way that this happens is in your sleep. So when you sleep, your body's going through these repairs and you regroup, you regenerate. And I didn't realize that your brain literally repairs in your sleep. Now, you could physically use your body and be tired and exhausted, right? And need sleep. We all know that, right? But you can sit behind a computer. You can sit behind a desk with a pencil and paper and be exhausted by the end of the day. And I liken it because of our brain. I believe this, the more we use our brain, the more that our sleep, that much more is required. Now, how would we not use our brain so much? I'm going to tell you. You know, one of the least, that takes the least amount of brain to do, one of the activities or things to do that takes the least amount of energy of your brain? Watching TV. Watching TV is one of the that would take the least amount of brain power. Reading would take more. Thinking, writing, crunching numbers, you're going to use your brain. You see this? But to sit and binge on, what's it called? The Squid Game? I got it right? Watch the Squid Game all day is not going to exercise your brain. You see this? But you want to exercise your brain. You want to use it, just like your muscles in your arms and your legs and your feet and your hands. But you use it, then it has to go into being repaired and starting all over. So I say that to say we're constantly deciding where we're going to go with our brain. I say brain. You don't usually hear that in church. But how about I say thoughts? And I know thoughts and brain is not something used much in church. And I don't mean use much that we're not smart. What I mean is that it becomes like, oh, that's humanism. That is secular, which is not true. God designed this brain. And it's mighty. It's powerful because He designed it. He's the designer. These computers still can't match a human brain. And I could go so many places with that, but I'll stay out of there. But as we learn what room are we going to walk into with our minds? Because we're constantly bombarded with the option of the good room or the evil room. Or the corrupt room. The corrupt fruit. Right? So everything could be corrupt around you, but you could walk in the good room. Your peace of mind, the calmness of your soul, the environment of your life, your mind, the figurative word, the literal, I said room, or the literal room should be precious to you. What is your room environment? It should matter to you. When you lay your head down to sleep, it should matter. Are there waves crashing
all on me? Or is there still calm waters? It should be precious to you. If you're in a workplace where they put you down, they call you names, they abuse and mistreat you, you need to think twice. I need to reevaluate. Now, there's going to be stress at work. I get it. There's going to be pressure at work. I get it. There's going to be uncomfortable situations at work. But doesn't mean that you need to be put down. Medea's out teaching right now. She's normally in here. But she was working at a law firm and a very high stress place. Everything has to be the T's crossed and I's dotted. You got to be on it. Because if not, you can blow a whole case. So she would have to go through all the stuff that is preparing for court cases, which she did. Research and getting the stuff ready. But she said the environment would become hostile. Put downs, name calling, yelling, flying off the handle, all those things. And she worked there, I don't know how many years, but maybe 4 years or so. She was there for a while. And then she started reevaluating. And there was a law firm in the Biltmore area, a high-end, really high-end law firm. And so she applied. So they saw her resume. She was interviewed. And then they hired her and they told her this. We just want you to know we will not yell at you here. Why? They were familiar without her telling them that law firm has a reputation of mistreating their employees. So they, without her saying it, because she wasn't going to say anything, they told her, we will be professional. So she took the job. It's more stressful because they're higher cases. But she says, Dad, I love working here. Even though it's more demanding, getting that removed from her daily basis, that, okay, is this going to fly off the handle? Is this going to blow up? Made the difference. But she had to come to that conclusion and say, okay, I'm moving on. But sometimes we don't know what it is, what's normal. What's normal? Because if that's your normal, you don't know that's not right. So I'm here to tell you, people putting you down is not normal. See, there's some people that would want or thought they could just put me down, and I'm just like, I'll go silent. I'll be like, and then they're like, what's wrong with him? Where's the forgiveness? Where's the love? Well, the forgiveness is there, and the love is there. And mostly the love's for myself. And I'll be like, you're not going to talk to me like that. Okay, because that's one thing. But I know if I allow you to, then you're going to talk to my wife like that. Yes. And then who's next? My children. Right? Then who's next? My grandchildren. Right? So I put boundaries. You will not speak to me like that. So see me, you're a loser. How many members do you have in your church? You're a failure. You're no good. You can't do anything. On top of that, you're ugly. I mean, this is how some people would speak, right? Okay, I can go further because I'm actually watering it down. Where they go into really derogatory names. And I'm just like, no. When I was younger, I allowed it. I took it. I took it. I took it. But I came to a time in my life, I said, I'm out. I needed to get hit with a brick in my head. I wasn't the, what would you say, the sharpest tool in the shed or the sharpest knife in the drawer or the brightest crayon in the box. I needed to get hit with a brick to realize this isn't right. So now I look at it and say, not only am I not going to allow it to me, I'm not going to be that man to you. Could you imagine if I grabbed one of these young person and told them, Gina, I need to let you know something. You are ugly. And you're not going to make anything of yourself. Could you imagine if I said that to one of them? I could destroy them, their life, right? If I took one of these young men or young women and just ripped them, they might not recover. This is not normalcy. But I needed to get hit with a brick. But at the time, my children, we didn't have 4. We had 2, but they were very young. I had to learn. And I had to grow to realize you're not going to do that to me. And people still don't get it about me. They don't get it. I'm just like, you're not going to do that. Now, Devin's got this look on his face like, okay. But he's not that he did it, but he's got thick skin. I'll just say that. He's got thick skin. So a lot of it just rolls. But he does get really upset when he hears things about me. And I have to talk him off the ledge. He's laughing because I'm like, no, Devin, don't respond, Devin. No, don't do it. Dad, I'm tired of this, Dad. I'm tired of it. But this is the decision of walking into a good room versus a corrupt room. Because your words, my words, your actions, my actions affect people's lives. We're a tree, and what tree are we? And what fruit do we put off that tree? And we're a room, and what room are we? And I share those stories not for therapy. I share them as an example and illustration. Because who do we tend to draw in this house? Those that have been mistreated. Those that have been hurt and wounded. Those are the ones we draw. You know why? Because they recognize it. They see that. Because the other ones, they join in on the nursery rhymes of putting people down. But it's understanding we're going to be a good room. We're going to be a good tree. We're going to bear good fruit. As compared to being a corrupt tree that brings what? Corrupt or evil fruit, it says. Wow, I don't want to bring evil fruit. I didn't warn you. Do you have your Bible with you? Because I'm going to have you help me. You got your microphone? No. I'll read it. It's okay. I didn't warn you. But the instructions of understanding the rooms we walk into, and that the tree you are, the tree I am, the fruit I bear, the fruit you bear, the fruit we eat. Last week, we went into this portion of Scripture, and I'm going to reread it, but I'm going to continue the reading because it tells us exactly how this works. But we're going to refresh what we read last week, Philippians 4, starting with the 6th verse. Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known unto God. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. You remember that last week if you were here. It's right with the song, let go and let God. As soon as I stop worrying. And then it continues. And it says, finally, brethren, finally, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of a good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, that's the room you walk into. That's the fruit you eat. It's telling us. I think you could build a doctrine off of that. We don't build doctrine off those things, do we? You know why? You know what we call that? Watered down. Give me that watered down thing then. That's where you think. That's where the tree that you should be and the tree that you eat from. Again, the majority of your time is spent right here in your mind. Why I promote processes, rituals, practices, steps. I promote that. You know why? Because when you walk down these steps and you have them, it'll walk you right back to those things. If you don't have a process, you don't have a ritual, you don't have a practice that follows the good things, and you just let freelance happen, your mind freelances. You don't want a freelancing mind. And what I mean is original thoughts are fine. But what I'm saying is your mind needs to be disciplined. Because if I sit around enough and we talk, we could talk about how horrible things are. Right? We can talk till the cows come home about the negativity that goes around. But that's not the room I want to live in. I don't want to be an ostrich with my head in the sand, but I have to say, okay, I see that, but I can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about it. But let go and let God. I can let go and let God. But what I can do something about, and what you can do something about, is what goes on right here. You can do something about that. It's not fair. It's unjust. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what it's like to walk in my shoes. If we talk long enough, I'll find out that God has been good to you. If we talk long enough, I'll find out you have a better life than most people. You may just not know it. It's like the two shoe salesmen went to another country, and one of them calls back and says, "Get me out of here." Why? He says, "Nobody has any shoes." And the other one calls in. He says, "You won't believe what just happened." He's like, "What?" "Nobody has any shoes." Same place, different mindsets. It's how you see it. as I wrap this up, Minister J. Mac, what we do here is different in service than our recordings and all that, because the recordings are like A to B, like that, and this is more fluid because I want to minister to you. I want to do application and share things in a different way. But 2020 was a reboot. It was a reboot. Things got rebooted. And a lot of people found themselves coming to the conclusion that they didn't like their career path. They didn't like the job they had. So a lot of people have gone into new careers. Okay, some people have gone into hibernation and said, I'm staying here. I'm just saying that's what some people have done. They're like, I'm good. I don't want to go back to work. But other people have said, I'm going to do something new and different, right? Because it gave them the opportunity to take a different road. For me, it was everything changed dramatically for my life. It changed. I found myself with a whole different surroundings because of 2020. All the things, the way church was ran, my life, my time, everything changed. But I also learned the ability to appreciate some other things and say, yeah, I'm not a trust fund baby that came into this world with multi-millions of dollars. And I didn't inherit a big building of a church and all kinds of different things. And I'm not complaining. But I thank God for what He has given me. And this is very crucial as I wrap this up. Brother Mike, I'll look at you. You can look at your life and say, I thank God for my life. Thank God for my wife. I thank God for Evie. I thank God for my parents. I thank God for my in-law, my mother-in-law. You could thank God for your father-in-law that you didn't get to meet. But you thank God for your new adopted family behind you. And this family, right? Your intellect, your coordination, your vocal cords, your heart. You could thank God and say, if I was to go back in time and come back on this earth as somebody else, I would like to come back as me. Can you do that? Do you see that, Brother Danny? Can you go back in time and say, the Lord says, Brother Danny, we're going to redo this. Who do you want to come back as? Now, He's not going to call you Brother Danny. He's going to say, D, what do? Me. Do you see that? Yourself. He didn't see, you don't need 10 lives to figure this out. You just need one. And I look at it this way. I have had my pain. I've had my challenges. I have had my hurts. But if I had to go up to heaven and be asked that question, I can say, send me back as me, Lord. A flawless man? No. But the old school song, Minister Ross, He was there all the time. He was there all the time. I think I shared this story, but if I didn't, or if I did, you're going to hear it again. But when I moved here to Arizona in high school, and I had a English class, and I went in. There was a couple young men in there. I remember there was round tables in there. They were sitting the last one in the back. I remember I went in and sat down. I know anyone, know anybody, and went through my day. Lunch, I went to the library. I remember that. I know anyone went to the library. The next day, I came. One of the young men said, "Hey, you want to eat lunch with us?" I said, "Sure." So there's about 5 of them. So I'd been like the 6th. And, we ate lunch and kind of got to know these different young men my second day. In time, he told me, he said, "We were talking about picking on you. We were throwing it around. We were going to give you a hard time." I was new. I dressed differently because where I had come from, my clothes were different. I spoke differently. I remember because where I had come from, we used a different form of slang, so the slang was a little bit different. They grew to like it. In fact, they would use some of my slang eventually. But the Lord had shared this, and I might have told you a few months back. The Lord showed me it was me. I touched their hearts to befriend you. And they had a thought of giving you a hard time. He said, "Well, that's just no big deal." But for the Lord to show me, I was there at those moments. When I was going through hard times in my life and different things, He was there. When my heart was broken, He was there. And I know He was there for you too. He still is. But can you see that He was there? Can you see that He is there? And could you see that He is good? Can you see that? Because man's going to contradict what God has said. Man's going to say you're a mistake. Man's going to say you're not good enough. Man's going to say you don't fit. But that's why man that says that is a corrupt, evil tree. But it's not what man says. It's what God says. And I can go on what God has told me. Blessed and many other things where people say, "That's not God. He would never say those good things about you." And I say, "Good thing." He would never. It's like, okay. One time the Lord gave me the opportunity. And He's like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "Lord," this was years ago, decades ago. I want to understand what it is you see in me. And he went into detail on the lion. He started explaining a lion to me. And he started explaining how the lion's he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, he's not the strongest, he's not the smartest. He says, but a lion knows who he is. And everyone else knows who the lion is. And he says, that's you. He says, you're like a lion. And so I said, well, why would he do that? You know why? Because he was countering what man would say. And even though I would not understand that application prior to that, it wasn't just the knowledge in the mind, it was him reinforcing in me who I am. What? That you're a lion? No, that you are like a lion. And I know some people say, that's crazy. Well, I guess me and the Lord are crazy. I'm going to share this last story. I just have to. But there's a gentleman that I talk to quite often about business stuff. And one day he calls me. And he says, I'm killing it. I'm making so much money. I'm just raking it in. He goes, I'm making more money than you. He's telling me on the phone, right? So I'm just kind of, yeah, whatever. Doesn't mean much to me. A few hours later, he calls me back. And he's like, you won't believe what happened. And I'm just saying, what? He says, my stomach was bothering me. So I loosened up my belt. He says, I went to the airport. I'm in there in front of everybody. And I went down to pick up my suitcase. My pants fell all the way down to my ankles. He says, I'm standing there in my underwear. And he goes, I know what happened. It was you and your God. He says, you and your God did that to me because you have that relationship with him. He says, I know you guys would do that to me because I said what I said to you. And I'm laughing. I'm just busting up. As he's telling me, I'm like wanting to cry, laugh. Not about the part about me and my God, but the part about his pants falling down. But as he's telling me, he doesn't believe he has any faith. But I'm saying there's faith there because you believe so much in my relationship with God that God would yank your pants down for telling me something like that. And I'm like, you know what? There's probably a lot of truth to it. And I'm like, God pulled his pants down or not, but he might have. And he loosened his belt up, but he loosened his own belt. But I look and the way he said that relationship that you, and this is how he said it, you and your God. Because what he sees is my relationship with God Almighty. And I look, and if anything gives me confidence, it's that. It's that. What? That God will pull your pants down and you mistreat me? He might. But that he's with me. He was there all the time. Some people say, I only need to know him as my Savior. You know how people say that? Now, to me, that's just a start. I want to know him as my Lord. I want to know him as my Jehovah Jireh. I want to know him as my Jehovah Shalom. I want to know him as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And the last one I'm going to leave with you is to know him as your friend.